Hello there. How are you doing? I'm Reverend Deborah Johnson. It's so good to be here with you, also known of as Rev D. This is an extraordinary time that we are in history, and we are so glad to be celebrating this moment with you. We know that you are a one of a kind, a unique, special emanation of the divine, that each and every person is born with magnificence. And we are here to unleash all of the possibilities of our greatness, regardless of the circumstances and the conditions that you may find yourself in now. The last word has not been spoken. There is still goodness to be experienced. There's still creativity within you. There's still deeper levels of love and forgiveness, greater and richer understanding. And we come here just to help facilitate that and to share all of that with each other because we are truly, truly students and teachers of each other. I can't say that enough. Nobody has all of the answers. Okay. The answers aren't going to be found just in some religion or in some sacred text somewhere. Life is an ongoing process. It's living and it's breathing itself all of the time. We are forever growing and understanding in our awareness. Even Jesus said, "Greater works will you do." The last word has not been spoken. So, as important as it is for us to ground ourselves in something that is eternal, things that have withstood the test of time, there's no reason for us to belittle ourselves and feel like everything's already happened in the past. It isn't like miracles or something that we have to read about that happened in some ancient time. No, miracles are happening every day, because a miracle is where our deep intent meets the inexhaustible supply, the infinite possibilities that the divine always has for us. So, welcome here. We celebrate you and we celebrate your journey. Okay. We are all here about growth. We're all here about transformation. I get these spirit downloads, and uh, the ones that come in the form of letters, some of them are in a series called Letters from the Infinite. Volume one in the Sacred Yes, there's a line in there that I love where that spirit voice is saying to us that I love you. I love you just the way you are. And you can't stay that way. And you can't stay that way. And that's pretty much our message to you as a spiritual community. We love you just the way that you are. And you can't stay that way. None of us can. We offer tools. We offer tools for living that encourage the practical application of universal spiritual principles to all of life's circumstances, all of them. And one of the tools that we offer every week are affirmative activations, 100 words, 100 words to change your life. They are paradigms and precepts. They are principles, they're new perspectives. They're hands on practices. They're that and so much more. You would get exposed to them here, but I invite you to come back, and to keep thinking about these in deeper and deeper application. Okay, what does this mean for different areas of my life? Okay, what does this mean for my career? Okay, what does this mean for my family life? What does this mean for um, my social political views? What does this mean for my health, my prosperity, my abundance? Okay, just think about it in as many different ways and levels that you can. And then the richness of it starts to come out, because the more ways you're able to reinforce it, the greater the roots are within you, the more fruit it bears. So if you are at all able to, I'm going to invite you to say these affirmations with me as they come on your screen. The marrow of my bone knows that we are all born to be free. Authenticity is our destiny. We boldly express who we are meant to be. No playing small, no dimming our light, no supporting might over what's right. Daring to live in equality, we bring forth justice and liberty. Rising above the sordid ashes of the past, our enduring hope forever lasts. Purifying what we're seeing, we commit to each other's well being. As we pledge allegiance to the divine, we provide more opportunities for all to shine. Together, we soar through every open door. We thrive, keeping hope alive. Hmm. Just let this settle in for a moment. Just notice if you are gravitating towards anything in particular. Perhaps there's a line in there that's calling to you. What might that be? Perhaps it's no more supporting might over what's right. Maybe it's we thrive keeping hope alive. Perhaps it's daring to live in equality. We bring forth justice and liberty. Just see if there's something that calls out to you, and I'm going to invite you to come back and really be with this. Really be with it. Yeah, let's breathe it in. So today we're going to be honoring Juneteenth. There's been a lot of activities that have been going on over the past week. It's a new federal holiday. Our topic today is being freedom's song. Being freedom's song. So I'd like to share just a moment about what Juneteenth is and how it is that we've come to celebrate it. During the Civil War, actually in the middle of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln did something that he hoped would try to help to end the war. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Contrary to popular belief, we did not fight the Civil War to end slavery. We fought the Civil War to stop the spread of slavery. The states that were looking to succeed were looking to expand slavery into the new territories that were going west. If they did, that was going to have severe economic impact on the North, and it was going to break the Union. If the goal had been to end slavery, then what we know of as the Emancipation Proclamation would have been done at the beginning of the war, would have led with that. But the Union didn't lead with it. The Union was reacting to the Confederacy that was trying to lead. The Union didn't start the Civil War. And there's a misunderstanding about this Emancipation Proclamation that took effect in January of 1863. It only ended slavery within the territories that were rebelling. And Lincoln says very clearly that this is a tool for the act of war. He said publicly, if he could end the war without freeing any slaves, he'd do that. If it took freeing all of them, he'd do that. If he could win the war with freeing some or not freeing others, he'd do that. Just saving the Union was his main thing. So this Emancipation Proclamation didn't end slavery. It just freed the slaves that were in the rebelling states with the hope of creating turmoil and chaos. Okay. That these slaves might start to uproot, they would rebel. And in that declaration in that Emancipation Proclamation, it basically said, you're on your own, you're free, but we're not going to do anything to help you get free or to protect you. You're on your own. The first thing that I want to say about this is that in terms of consciousness, before I even get to Juneteenth, in terms of consciousness, we tend to do this sometimes. Okay. For the sake of expediency, for the sake of fulfilling some kind of a goal, we kind of compartmentalize our lives a little bit. Okay. Where, okay, I'm going to be, and I'm using this as a metaphor, clean and sober in this part of my life, but it's okay to be addicted in this other part. Okay. Because all I'm trying to do is like get this job. All I'm trying to do is get this person. All I'm trying to do is, just clean up this credit report enough to get this car. Like whatever where we're living in this dichotomy of a split consciousness. Okay. We're not committing wholeheartedly for what ending slavery would represent on a moral basis. We didn't do that. We've never done it. Even in the Constitution now, it doesn't prohibit slavery. It restricts it for only to be used in those instances when somebody has been incarcerated, has been duly convicted of a crime. Okay, so we still have this legacy, this consciousness going on. So when the Civil War ends in 1865, the last slaves to find out are in Galveston, Texas, where when the Union Army comes through on June 19th, 1865, is when the last slaves hear that they are free. That June 19th has come to be called Juneteenth. So this Juneteenth celebrates what effectively becomes the end of the active practice of racial slavery as the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade. being freedom's song. Freedom isn't just about proclamations. Freedom isn't just about declarations. Freedom is a state of mind, and it's a state of consciousness. In order for people to be slaves, there had to be enslavers. So the United States wasn't fighting to end people being in slavery. It was fighting for the state's rights to be able to enslave. That's a really big difference. A really big difference. Say, I have the right to do this, as opposed to I have the right to be free from something. And this is much of where we find ourselves in now as a nation, right here in this gap between people who are wanting to be free, to be able to fully participate, to express their humanity and their authenticity, and another paradigm that's saying we have the right, whatever, politically, religiously, racially, but we have the right to determine the world that we want to see and what's best for us, and to make anybody and everybody else conform to our worldview, no matter how much it is at their detriment, because we have the right to be on top. We have the right to say how it ought to be. We are the ones who have been ordained to be the leaders, the rulers, to control. And it not only is right, it not only is a privilege of ours or an entitlement, a right, it is a responsibility on our part to establish the world the way that we think that it ought to be. Okay. That mindset, I contend, is against the natural order of things. It's against the natural order of things. That we are all born equal. There's no gene somewhere, there's no DNA somewhere that says that you are born to be superior, and none that says you were born to be inferior. Just let that sink in for a moment. Okay. All of that's man-made stuff. It's man-made stuff. And if they say that it's coming from a religious perspective, that's because that's man-made religious perspective. The universe has made every single child perfect, whole, and complete. Within every kid is promise, is possibility. There's talent, there's creativity, there's wisdom, there's understanding. There's all of that. And if we didn't interfere, okay, if we didn't restrict, constrict, confine, restrain, constrain, if we didn't do any of that and just allowed people to be, if they got all the support that they needed, if they got all of the access to the riches that life has, if they had access to all of the wisdom and all of the knowledge, access to the food, the housing, the clothing, access to the medicines and the healing, properties and techniques that are there just within the universe, just within the planet itself. If everybody had access, they would thrive. They would thrive. And something within knows that. You can only suppress a people for so long before they rise up. There's something within the soul that yearns to express. There's something that yearns to be creative. You see little kids running around and they're busy making things up, and they're building, they're dancing. If they have any kind of little tools around or whatnot, they're going to draw. They're going to attempt to paint. They're going to sing. They're going to laugh. They're going to play. They're going to do all of those things. They're not telling themselves no. They're not telling themselves that they can't. Whenever they start to do that, it's because they're mimicking, they're buying into things that adults have taught them. But it's not innate. It's not innate. I'm reminded of a story in scripture. It's in the second creation story in the book of Genesis. The first creation story talks about essentially evolution, the order in which things came into existence. The second story is the story of the Garden of Eden and the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. It's a beautiful allegory when you really grow and understand what some of its deeper meanings are. And without going through all the story now, I'm really, really tempted. But there's this one line in there. So in this story, they are told that they can, or Adam is told more specifically, that you can have anything in this garden that you want. You can do anything, but you're here to dress and keep the garden. You're here to be a steward. It says, and in the east garden, which is the inner realm, there are these two trees that are standing next to each other. One is the tree of life. The other is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the duality tree, the knowledge, the experiential. This also means sexual relations, like don't procreate with duality, where you're just getting this, what you think is right or wrong from just your sensory perception. Okay? There's something that's beyond all that. And you're told that if you do that, there's a consequence. This, and the consequence is that you'll die. And it's not a physical death, but it's like a withering or whatnot of the spirit. That this is what will happen. Not as a punishment, but as a natural consequence. Consequence, like with the sequence. So in the story, it says that once they ate of this fruit, of this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the first thing that happened is that they felt shame. And they covered themselves with skins. It says that God's calling them in the garden. And they're hiding out. They hear their name, but they're hiding out. And in the story, when they're questioned and say, well, why are you hiding? And the response was, because we are naked. And in the story, God's question back is, who told you that? Listen to what I'm saying. Who told you that? Now, that word told that's being used there in Hebrew is very similar to the way that we would use the word told. But essentially, what it's saying is that there is some distance between the one who now is aware of this information and the source of the information. That there's a gap, that this is not information that has come from within you. You had to be told it. It had to come from some external place, because it is not a conclusion that you would ever arrived at on your own. Listen to what I'm saying. The self-judgments that we have, the ways that we're in divisiveness and at each other's throats and all these ideas about who the other one is. Like, who told you that? Okay, who told you that? In slavery, there was a thing called the Underground Railroad, or sometimes known as the Freedom Train. It was this extraordinary connectivity that went through the slave states into the northern states where people could be free. So it's this very treacherous and very dangerous network that is comprised of many different people, particularly white Southerners who were using their homes, their farms, their ranches as cover, as shelter, as these people are shuttling their way through. Their guides, one of the most famous ones is Harriet Tubman. She made many of these journeys back and forth, Sojourner Truth. And here's the thing, and I will often say this, that no slave ever got on the freedom train. Not a slave. The only ones that got on the freedom train were the ones who already knew that they were free. Okay. But where did they know that from? Listen to what I'm saying. Where did they know that from? Something internal. See, even if you are enslaved and you're given your freedom, that if you don't believe that you are free, you're still going to be a slave. You just be a slave without the physical chains. We do this all the time about anything. It could be recovery. It could be weight loss. It could be financial well-being. It could be loving relationships. It could be almost anything. Okay? And just a change of appearance, a change of status, without accompanied by a deep inner awareness, a deep inner claiming, a deep inner ownership that this is who I am now. I am now living in this free place of prosperity. I'm now living in this free place of health. I'm now living in this free place of sobriety. That this is who I am. And this is where I'm really supposed to be. Without that as our song, without that as our inner whatever, we're still going to be struggling. We're still going to be trying to take the shackles off, even though the shackles will be just in our minds. I'm hearing a lot of talk these days about people saying that they're not going to vote and that they're particularly not going to vote because they don't like the choices that they have on the ballot, particularly for the presidency, that they're just not going to vote. And I ask myself sometimes, and I ask of whoever's listening now and anybody who's so inclined to think that they're not going to vote, why did the freed slaves vote? Why would you do that? Why would you choose to support an institution that treated you like you weren't even a human being? Why would you do that? What was so compelling that was making these freed slaves during Reconstruction so eager and anxious to vote? I can't imagine that they were really thrilled about the choices that were on the ballot. I don't think that they were running there because they felt so good about the specifics of what it is they were going to be voting for. I don't think that was it. I think that they voted because they understood something. I think they voted because they understood that their vote was the declaration of their equality, that their vote, their ability and the capacity to vote represented choice and an ability to make a decision. Just that, just let that sink in for a moment. Because as slaves, they had no rights. They couldn't make a decision about anything, not where to live, if they could marry, if they could keep their children, bodily autonomy, what they ate, if they could sleep, their life, nothing. Can you imagine that? In this quote unquote land of the free, where you have some people who have all rights and other people who are just property. They don't have any more right than a chair. Period. So just to have the ability to make a choice, just the ability to say, I'm a full-fledged citizen here, and that my presence is equal. Their voting was their way of saying Black lives matter. But here's the thing. See, we've come to think of voting now as much too transactional, but that's not the way that it works. That's not the way that life works. For the most part, the freed slaves were agricultural workers. They were in the farms. They were in the field. So they understood a little bit of something about how things grow, how you plant the seeds, but the seeds don't bear fruit right away. There's a whole long process that you have to tend to in order to get the fruit. And I contend that's what they were doing with their voting, that they understood that they said, well, you know what? There may not be anybody on this ballot that looks like me. There may not be anybody on this ballot who even cares about me. But if we keep voting, we're going to turn that around. If we keep voting, we're going to have the choice. If we keep voting, we're going to be able to shape who's on the ballot. It, it's like building generational wealth, politically speaking, not being discouraged at any one particular point in time. So they're saying, we're going to keep voting. We're going to keep voting here in Georgia so that one day we can have a Stacey Abrams. We can have a Raphael Warnock. We can have a Fani Willis. Okay, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep voting in the North. We're going to keep voting in New York so that we can have a Letitia James, so we can have a Hakeem Jeffries or an Alan Bragg. We're going to keep doing. We're going to keep doing this so we can have a Barack Obama, that we can have a Kamala Harris. But it doesn't happen overnight. It happens as an investment. So I think they understood. If I don't vote, then I'm acquiescing. That my not voting is a proxy. It's a proxy to those who are going to vote. So I may not be able to get everything I want, but can I at least say kind of what direction I want it to go in? Because that's what happens with our voting. It's not just about who's in the White House. It's at every level. Who's the sheriff? Okay? And who holds the sheriff accountable? Who's the mayor? Who's the governor? Who's Secretary of State and counting those ballots or not? Who's going to be the judges? Who's going to be in the state legislature? Who's going to be in the U.S. Senate? Who's going to be doing all this stuff over education? And do I matter? Do I matter? So when I silence myself, I'm communicating that I don't matter. That I don't matter, that my opinion doesn't matter, that I'm not going to hold you accountable. You don't have to come back to me and my constituency and and my community and check in with us, help support us in the ways that we want to be supported in order to court our vote, to have our vote. No, it's a long-term game. Life is long-term. Listen to what I'm saying. Life is long term. If you want people to eat, what is that old parable? Something like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. That was the best time. So, this is how life itself works, not just politics, where we're each making a contribution in our generation for the legacy that comes next. We're eating from the fruit that's planted by people before us. We may not be able to eat all of the fruit of our own labor, but we're making a deposit into the collective good so that there will be stuff that's available on an ongoing basis. This is what it means to be restorative, regenerative. Okay? This is what it means to have justice. Because if you consume all of it for yourself and you pick up your bat and ball and go just when the things aren't going your way, then you're not there for the long haul. See, as farmers, they understood. They understood that they couldn't control everything. Stuff happens. Wind, storms, rains, fire. They understood that. But they also understood that if the roots were deep, some would grow back. That you couldn't just worry about the quality of the fruit. You had to tend to the roots and make sure that those were strong and solid. This is the stuff of life. I'm talking about every area of your life, from your financial well-being to your physical health, to us in the social political arena, to your spiritual well-being, all of it. Within, you have to know, you have to believe that you are free, that you are it, that you have a right, not waiting around for any person, place, or thing to give you permission. As it says in the preamble, the Declaration of Independence, that we are endowed by our Creator. It's not something that the government gives you. An endowment is literally that. It's a gift. And what an endowment does is that it keeps giving. It keeps giving. The endowment doesn't get used up. You're literally living from the overflow. You're living from not the endowment itself, but the interest that comes from it. The money's making. And that's how we are with our life. We're living off the blessings that our blessings are making. If we dare to be a part of it. To dare to be a part of it. Breathe that in. There's another way that we vote, and that's with every word that comes out of our mouth. We vote with our thoughts, with our ideas. We put something into motion to multiply. It's like putting an order out in the universe. Bring this thing to me because it's going to bring to us wherever our attention is. It magnifies, it multiplies. So in this moment right now, we're going to put our attention on this freedom song. We're going to put our attention there and call it forth as our very life existence. So we turn within in this moment. We breathe in the goodness of the divine. Something within us knows that it knows. It is not confused. It's not conflicted. It's not in competition with anyone, anything. It simply is. We bask in that isness right now. That inner light, that spark of divinity, that essence of ours, which is perfect, whole, and complete. Nothing extra, nothing missing. How good it is to know that we are not damaged goods. We are not sinful by nature. We are perfect, whole, and complete. Made in the image and the likeness of the only thing that is. It's just a question of how much we know it. So we awaken in this moment from the spiritual amnesia and we remember, sons and daughters of the Most High, free. Free to be all that we are ordained to be. No person, place, or thing can stand in the way of our good. No weapons formed against us shall prosper. We are living in the enoughness of everything, the enoughness of goodness, of grace, of sufficiency, the goodness of love, peace, and joy, the goodness of power, authenticity, the goodness of truth, of liberty, the goodness of balance, of right action. We're living in the freedom of compassion and all needs met. This is who we be. This and so much more. As we live here, I know that it comes into its fullest and its highest expression of whatever that needs to look like in each and every person's life. Manna from heaven. Our daily bread. The sustenance at all levels. We leave no one out. No one. The so-called good, the so-called bad. God maketh the sun to shine upon the just and the unjust. We're leaving the light on for everybody to make their way home. Beyond circumstances and conditions. To know that you are loved in the eyes of the Most High. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know in this moment, food, clothing, shelter, clean water, freedom, safety, access, empowerment, belonging, safety, security, stability, that all of these are provided for. This is what I know. We live in this. We get out of the way. We allow it to be. And so it is. Amen and amen. Oh, yeah, we're a praying community here. We invite you to reach out to us with your prayer requests. You'll see the information is scrolling along the screen. You can reach us at 831-465-9090 at extension 254. You can also send us an email, the number 4 and the word prayer at innerlightministries.com. Our prayer practitioners are there to help you, to assist you. Yes, yes, yes. Let us stand in that gap with you for sure. We invite you to share this message, to participate with us as often as you can, to check out our calendar and see the various events and things that are going on. Some are in person. We're in the Santa Cruz, California area. Some things are virtual. Some things are a little bit of both. Just want to do a reminder that Jamie Lula will be with us in 2 weeks. The first Sunday, in July. First Sundays, we always meet at the Resource Center for Nonviolence. That's on Ocean Street across from the Paradox Hotel. We meet from 3 to 5. And Jamie Lula is going to be our guest musical artist. Please be prepared to stay with us for fellowship. We have nutritious food that's there for you to just feed your soul as we fellowship together. Get your body fed too. It's a wonderful time to come together in community, and we do stream it live. So if you're not able to be there, you can follow it on YouTube. Yeah. And now's our time of conscious contribution, of giving. And I say thank you for your gifts, for your tithes, for your monthly pledges, for your single one-time donations. All of it is so greatly, greatly appreciated. You'll see on your screen that there are different ways in which you can make that contribution. You can do a debit, credit card, or PayPal through the portal there. You can use your QR code. This will also appear at the very end of the service. You can text to give as well. Either one of them gives you a reoccurring option if you'd like to choose that. You can also do Cash App, which is $ Inner Light Ministries. You can go to our website. If you happen to be online right now, you'll see that there are buttons right there on our website. Click to donate. All of it, every nickel, dollar, and dime is going towards healing. It's going towards transformation. We are an independent community. And we are able to do the things that we're able to do because of your generosity. And with continued and increased support, we'll be able to reach more people, to expand this message and create even more opportunities for us to be together in community. So appreciate your being here with us today. and know that your generosity returns to you. That's another principal law of the universe, that we receive with the same graciousness in the same manner in which we give. So we bless this gift, knowing that it returns to us a thousandfold. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And if you want to put in a little something extra for Teen Camp, just make a notation within your donation that that's what you're doing. And as always, we ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on social media, to like us, pass on the word, pass it on, share this. Just sit down with somebody and say, hey, let's look at this together. Or you can do screen shares, bring together groups of people. Let's keep getting the word out there. There's a little motto that we have at Inner Light that we always end our events with, and I'm going to invite you to say it with me as it comes on the screen.